Where do you think Christian Pulisic will play? Will he play? Heath, Pierce? And I do think he'll start this first game against Bologna. But there's talk, and apparently Samuel Chukwueze has been blowing people's minds, including the manager Stefano Pioli, over his first 10 to 14 days with the club. And they're just amazed at how well he can dribble. That gives me some pause because I'm thinking, oh, great, here we go again with Pulisic and not being a first choice. But he's got a big opportunity again against his game in Bologna. And then I'll come to you about Yunus there, Chuck. But talk to me about Christian Pulisic, Heath.
Yeah, I think he'll get a fair chance to start. He's at a massive club and he's got to deliver, right? He's got to show. Like we just joked about guys taking over games, but he's got to show. We've seen when Christian Pulisic has the ability, when you see him for 90 minutes, right? You feel him every time he has the ball. There's a positive action or a positive movement. He's having an impact on the game. Hopefully that plays out in goals and assists and things that you can put into like the stat categories. But when he's at his best is when he was, based on minutes played in the Premier League, most successful dribbles, things like that. You want to see that from him. He's not going to get a free pass to just have neutral performances. So I think he's still in the right spot, but it's exactly what he should feel in one, is somebody knocking on the door so that we get the best out of him. But yeah, I think he will get a fair run of games so long as his performances support that,
Right, of course. So Giroud's going to be up top. I think we have Leao on one side, who is arguably not only the best player on Milan, but potentially the whole league. He's already won player of the season before, not last season, but the season before that. So Chuck, what are we saying? You can touch upon Pulisic, of course, but also Yunus Musah is not available for this first game. He had a red card in his last game for Valencia, and that carries over, which was news to me. I didn't know that rule existed, that if you get a red card in one league, that will carry over to another whole new league that shouldn't even matter. But here we are. So Yunus Musah is not available for the Bologna game. But I'm curious to see how they play without him, and I'll give you some quotes from him after I get your overall thoughts.
Yes, I think that we're going to see Christian more as a right winger than as a number 10. I know Pioli talked about potentially playing him in both and playing him under an Olivier Giroud, but I think what's great about this Milan side is that they're tactically flexible. They have a number of players. They also brought in Okafor, and Okafor can play as a center forward. He can play as a withdrawn, as a false nine. I think Chukwueze could also play as a false nine. So I think what we're going to see is Christian Pulisic is going to get every opportunity to succeed in this Milan side. And then you just got to hope that he stays healthy ultimately. And Rafa Leao, as long as he's playing, he's not going to come off. Expect him to play 90 minutes every match. So that left wing spot is locked. And then Olivier Giroud, I think you're going to see him rotated quite a bit because I don't think he could play every single match. And so that's where you'll start to get some opportunities with that nine, whether it's Okafor or Chukwueze, false nine. And then Pulisic, when he's on the pitch, he just has to deliver like he'd be at any top club. So moving from Chelsea to Milan, it's not going to get any easier. The only thing that changes is you're going to get an opportunity. A coach wants you, brought you in. So now you get your chance to play. When you get your chance, you have to take it. If you don't, guess what? Chukwueze's going to play. Okafor is going to play. Reinders is going to play.
So here's the question.
Yes.
But the question for me is, and this is all subjective to a manager's preference, but say you're the coach, how much of an opportunity do you give someone? Like, okay, sometimes that first game might not go well. Does that mean that somebody has to sit the bench for a couple of months? I mean, do you give, what's your leash? What's your rope that you give a player to, especially ones that are coming into a new league, and it's a different competition. It's not necessarily better or worse. It's just different. And you have tactics that are different and different teammates, of course. Mm-hmm. Do you give a Pulisic, what is that? Is it 2 games for you? Is it 3 games? Like, how much do you give a particular player? And then Chukwueze comes off the bench for him on the 60th minute for 3 consecutive games. I always wonder that, because it's even when I coach, it doesn't matter what age, you're like, okay, when do I start to move on to somebody else or try something different?
Being a striker and having played in Europe, the demands are quite different, right? Because right now it's results driven. This every league, there's so much pressure for Milan to not only compete in Champions League, but also to win Scudetto, to win Coppa Italia, Coppa Italiana, right? So Super Coppa Italiana. So you have to figure out how much do you going to give a team to settle in, to build that chemistry, versus what are the results that we're getting? Are we is Christian not playing well, but the team's still winning, then you can continue to give him a run of 3, 4, 5 games. But as soon as they start to lose and he's playing and he's not playing well, or he's not playing better than the rest, he's gonna get changed. That's just how it is. It's results driven business. So ultimately, you'd like to see him get a run of 4 or 5 games, because that I think is enough time to see.
Yeah, establishing.
Does everyone learn your tendencies? Does he learn everyone's tendencies? Does he have a good idea of the tactics that Pioli wants? Good idea of the league, because Premier League and Serie A are going to be quite different. So ultimately, I think a run of 4 or 5 games is typically what you get, and then it's off to the bench if you don't deliver.
I remember Ziggy Schmid was famous for giving you 3 games, and I fell victim to that and didn't get to play for a while if I didn't do well with my 3 games, regardless of how the team was playing. But I do agree with you that there's a lot of situational based stuff. I mean, if he's still creating goal scoring chances, maybe they're just not finishing or he's not finishing, then, and the team's winning, you're going to keep him going, I think. But all right, let's talk about Yunus Musah then. He had a couple quotes that I thought were interesting. He was asked, what position will he play for Milan? And he said, Pioli is asking me to play as a central midfielder. He's explaining the positioning and how to get into the area. I like that last part of that, because that means he's going to be expected to crash the box late when the ball goes out wide. And then I like this one too. Who's your idol? And he could go, obviously, any player can go any different direction. He said, I really like Yaya Toure. He was a reference for me, and I still watch his videos. He had technique and power. He had everything. And, man, I hope he continues to watch Yaya Toure, a huge fan of his game. And then last question was, where do you need to improve? And Yunus said, I can do more in the finishing phase, maybe score more goals. There's a high level of tactics here. That's something I need to work on. The coaches are helping me now. So I like it. I'm liking everything that's coming out of his mouth right now. And clearly he listens to the show and or watches, because we've been talking about him trying to get more finishing opportunities as well.
I mean, when you think about all the things that we like about him as a deep midfielder, right? His ability to beat the first player on the dribble and open up the game individually. And you think about adding that in the attack, right? It's the same principles in theory, right? Being able to free yourself up to get a shot and be clinical in that finish, like timing of your run into the box, like all those types of things of understanding time and place. You add that to his game, and I mean, you're talking about a massive, massive player with his upside, but to hear that sort of like intellectual student side of the game, I really like. It's great to hear. And it's not just like, sometimes we look at these guys and we're just like, why aren't they better than they are? And clearly he's got some things that they're working on, that I think, again, that self-awareness at his age is pretty great, right? Because you asked me at that age, I don't know, I might give you a few things. I'd say, crossing or whatever it is, but like he's more, because he's got such a high quality, he's in the details of what he should be doing.